Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Turning Point podcast. This is episode number 22. I'm one of your hosts, Lara, and I am joined once again by Lewin. It's been a minute. How are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. It has been a hot minute.
It has been a hot minute, yeah. We've been on hiatus for the past 2 months. The last episode we recorded was our Resident Evil episode, which we recorded in May.
Yeah.
With the intention of it being released in May, and then it didn't get released until like the 17th of June or some shit. So it was very late. But yeah, we've been on hiatus. I've been on a bit of a break from content creation, and that as a result, we took a bit of a hiatus. But you wouldn't know it because it's the start of August, our kind of uploads of this is just normal. Like nothing's really changed. I guess it's just the fact we did get an episode out last month. But like if we get an episode out at the start of August, it really doesn't matter that much. But no, we've been on hiatus for 2 months. And we've talked a little bit here and there about some things, but a lot of the stuff we would talk about we're just saving for this episode anyway. So I know you were going to do a E3 episode at one point.
I was, and then scheduling issues with my would-have-been co-host happened, and also E3 was kind of shit this year, so...
Kind of was, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's my thoughts on E3. You got the episode. There we go.
Yeah, I think the Microsoft conference was good. I think it was the first Microsoft conference I paid attention to, just simply because I have Game Pass. And I've never had Game Pass before, and there was a lot of games that's oh, it's coming to Game Pass, and I'm like, oh, this looks pretty neat. I might try this out. What else is happening? There's really not much happening for the rest of this year, is there? We've got the Suicide
in November.
Yeah, we got that. The Suicide Squad just came out, which we're going to talk about this episode.
Yes.
And then we got Edgar Wright's film coming out, but that's not till the end of October. Resident Evil isn't coming out until November, apparently.
Which one? The movie?
Yeah, the movie. It's apparently not coming out until then. Because originally it was meant to come out in September, and I was like, it's fucking August, and we haven't had a single trailer for this film.
I'm not expecting it to be good at all.
I looked into it. I was like, we haven't had a single trailer for it, and it's meant to be coming out next month. And I was like, I looked into it, and then I looked into it, and the release date's November, but there's no actual release date. It just says November. So I was like, oh, that explains why we haven't seen a trailer for it yet, I guess. I would expect we'll probably see something soon, I guess. If it's coming out in November, I would assume, within the next, either this month or the start of September, we'll see something.
I'm not sure if I want to see something.
I'm not expecting anything from it, but I mean, it's, we like I was saying back, I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast when the news broke. Was it last year? Maybe I talked about it with Jacob. I don't know if you were on that episode. I can't remember. But it's got a decent cast. So I'm interested. The only thing I'm concerned about is it's the first 2 games being adapted into one.
The 2 games that you can't cross over.
Well, I'm trying to think how it would work. Because you've got a lot of characters. Ada Wong's in that as well. Because she was never on any casting announcements, but I looked her up. I looked up the cast the other day, and some chick's playing Ada Wong. And I'm like, well, that's weird that you would have the whole... So obviously she's not a main... Obviously she's, a side character. She's probably not going to be in it that much. But I don't know how they're going to do it. I feel like the smart way to do it would be to be okay, let's focus... I mean, let's be honest. They're probably going to focus the story on fucking Leon and Claire because, of course, they will. But I feel like because they're 2 separate things that take place in a certain amount of time apart, I feel like the smart way to do it would be to focus on the outbreak in Raccoon City, but then have flashbacks to the mansion with Chris and Jill. I feel like that would be the smart way to do it if you're directly adapting the game, because then they don't conflict with each other.
No.
But I have a feeling they're gonna they would have to. You can't have because it's not gonna be half the film is
Mansion incident, half
and
the
then
film
half
is
the film
true.
it's not going to be that, right? Like that would just be
That's what I
weird.
think they're doing. That's why I'm worried.
It would
My
just be weird.
It is. Everything about this movie seems weird so far. My
Look,
issue.
honestly, it can't be any worse than the other ones, right?
That's
Although
pretty much the bar they've got.
Actually, all it has to do... Here's what it has to do. All it has to do is be better than Resident Evil Apocalypse, which is a movie I really love. But if it's better than that, that's it. That's the only job you have to do. That's it. If you're better than that, and I tell you what, Hannah John Carmen has a lot of work to do. Because, I mean, you're following up Sienna Guillory as Jill. That's got to get that right. But I have a feeling she'll be RE1 Jill. It's weird, like, if you're going to pick two Resident Evil games to cross over, wouldn't you just do Resident Evil 2 and 3?
Yeah, no, you can either do 1 and 3 or 2 and 3. 1 and 3 makes sense thematically for Jill. It doesn't make sense because you still got that awkward-ass time gap, but it's at least Jill's character development. But, and 2 and 3 is just Raccoon City Outbreak.
What are the bets that it's just gonna get to the end of the film, and there's gonna be like a hero shot, and it's gonna be Chris, Leon, Claire, Jill, Ada, and they're all gonna be lined up, and it's gonna be like, bam, like right at the end, and then they're gonna fight Nemesis, or they're gonna fight fucking Nemesis or some shit,
and then they're all dead by the sequel.
Yeah, if there is a sequel. I have a feeling there will be a sequel to this. I'm just like, I'm a little like, I don't know how they're gonna adapt it. But at least, unlike Paul W.S. Anderson, at least this guy's played the games, so like because he's
and
been
also doesn't have a wife he wants to put into a film.
Yeah. See, if it was me, I would put Mila Jovovich in it just for shits and gigs. Like, not even in, like, a big role. Like, it would just be, like, a little cameo. But, like, I'll definitely make sure to point it out. Like, if it was me making this film, I'll be like, camera will pan over to, like, some fucking extra. And it's just Mila Jovovich. Just... and just, like... And just, like, a wink. And just be like, haha, you thought she was gone. Just because I think it would be funny. And actually, there'd be like two just extra characters in the background, and it would be both Paul W.S. Anderson and Mila Jovovich. just in the background in a shot somewhere. It'd be great. Anyway. Yeah, there's not a lot coming out, so I don't really know really what we're going to cover on the podcast, because there's really not much coming out until, like, November, yeah. Because November we've got Resident Evil, we got Bonds, we've got... Obviously, we won't talk about Edgar Wright's film until November, because that doesn't come out till the end of October. So it's kind of just like this weird dry period between now and then. There's the new Witcher anime coming out, but we don't really need to talk about that. Which, by the way, if you've seen the trailer for, they dropped a new trailer for it today. It looks fucking good.
I didn't even know they were making a Witcher anime. This is completely news to me.
Yeah, so there's a Witcher anime coming out on Netflix this month. It's called The Witcher Nightmare of the Wolf, and it follows Vesemir. And yeah, it's a story with like a young Vesemir doing a bit of gaming, doing them Witcher contracts and shit. It's an anime movie. It's not a series, so it's just like a one-off anime movie.
Okay.
And then we got season 2 of The Witcher coming out in December as well. So,
which I still need to watch season 1.
Well, you better, because we're gonna cover them on the podcast. I was thinking we could do like a Witcher 2 wrap-up episode. Probably not in December, but maybe in January. We could do like a Witcher 2 wrap-up episode, and then like at the start of that episode, we could just talk about, Witcher 1 for a little bit. Just be like, oh yeah, like these are our general thoughts on season 1, and then get into season 2. That's what I was thinking we could do. We don't need to talk about the anime. I'll just talk about the anime in the catch-up segment at some point. Be like, hey, I watched this cool anime with... and even though you haven't seen season 1, you could probably watch the anime just simply because it's following Vesemir and it's years and years before the books anyway.
Yeah.
So you could probably watch it without seeing the actual main show. I don't think that would be really an issue. I think it's an original story. I don't think it's based off anything. So yeah, it could be interesting. Could be a fun little watch. Or it could be complete dog shit. Who knows, really? But which has been good so far, so... But yeah, other than that, there's really nothing coming out. I mean, there's the Marvel movies, probably.
But I don't... Shang-Chi next month. But, like, they're not the big hitters, maybe?
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch Shang-Chi. I don't fucking care. I'm not gonna watch Shang-Chi, and I'm not gonna watch Eternals. What I am excited for, though, is the Hawkeye show. I want to watch that, and that's coming out this year. But other than that, there's really not much coming out. There's Hawkeye coming out. I mean, we got Book of Boba Fett coming out in December, but we won't cover that until next year. So it's really kind of like what's left this year. It's not much. So I don't know. I feel like now's the perfect time to maybe do our Edgar Wright episodes since, we've just got like a 2-3 month gap of just fucking nothing coming out.
Yeah, we should get that done.
We'll see what happens. But we're here to talk about the Suicide Squad, among other things. But let's talk about the Suicide Squad. That just came out. We've both seen it. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to see it, to be honest, because I was like, fuck, I don't think I can watch this because we're in lockdown and stuff. But I managed to watch it. So we'll just start off with just spoilers. I don't want to go too in-depth on this because this is going to be a very rapid-fire, just like catch-up episode. So let's just go spoiler-free thoughts on the film, and then we'll just get into a little bit of spoilers and then move on. So, Lewin, what do you think of the Suicide Squad?
I went in expecting a decent movie, came out having a really fun time. I thought it was great. Yeah, it was just a really good time for like fast-paced 2 hours non-stop. Great, loved it.
It really doesn't stop, does it? Like it literally just starts and then it just keeps going and it doesn't hold back. It
was really well paced, I found.
Yeah, it's honestly like it is a masterclass in filmmaking, I think, this film. I mean, James Gunn's gotten a lot of flack recently, but and I'm not the biggest fan of the Guardians movies, but I'm not going to turn around and be like, oh, they're bad movies. Except the second one. The second one's shit. But from a filmmaking perspective...
My soul.
I'm sorry. But from a filmmaking perspective, they're both really solid movies. And I've never seen another James Gunn movie, so I can't really talk about him as a filmmaker outside of the MCU. But both Guardians movies are solid films, right? From a filmmaking perspective, at least. I might not be a fan of them, but they're decent. They're decent. They're really good. And so I wasn't expecting anything less from this film. But I have to say, I will be honest with you, I do feel like there's more passion here than there is for the Guardians films. And it's funny because I've been watching a lot of interviews over the last couple of days with the cast and with James Gunn. And, it's not like James Gunn dissing Marvel or anything. It's just him, he just seems way more passionate about this than Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think he's able to get away with a lot more with this.
Yeah, well, it's R-rated for starters.
It's R-rated.
And not only that, but WB just literally gave him free reign, which is what they need to be doing. And I'm glad they're doing it now. Birds of Prey, Joker, now this. I think this is the right direction. And even actually, you know what? Even Zack Snyder's Justice League to a point, because let's be honest, that would never have come out if it wasn't for quarantine. But even that, they're just allowing, filmmakers to make films and do what they want. And he's been talking, they gave him free reign. He could kill anyone he wanted to. He could make whatever type of movie he wanted to. I don't know, there's just this trust in James Gunn there, and not only that, but I just hearing him talk about the film, you know, like, because he talks about, like, you know, he's been doing Guardians, and he's been doing that, but, like, for this film, he really wanted, you know, to, I mean, he did use the phrase, like, you do films, you know, sometimes you get you to doing films for a paycheck, and he's like, for this film, I really wanted to, I don't have the exact quote, but he was like, for this film, I really wanted to hone in on just the creative process and really focus on that. And I don't know, he just seems way more enthusiastic about the Suicide Squad than he does Guardians of the Galaxy, which every time he talks about it, he obviously reiterates, you know, like, you know, he loves Guardians of the Galaxy, and, you know, because whenever he talks about, like, the characters, he always goes back to talking about the characters in those films as well in interviews, because people ask him, you know, how he balances the characters and all that. But he's said multiple times, he said that this is, like, his favorite movie that he's ever done, with his favorite cast and characters that he's ever done. So, I mean, he just seems really into it with this film, and you can tell watching it that this is a passion project. This isn't I've been hired by Warner Brothers to make a film, and my name's David Ayer, and let's make Suicide Squad 2016. Like, this isn't that. This is like he's got fucking Polka Dot Man in here, for fuck's sake. Like, this is a great thing. And you know what's great? I love that he, the reason why he talks about, like, Ratcatcher 2, he talks about Ratcatcher 2, and he's like, the reason why I wanted to put Ratcatcher 2 in the film was, he's like, I really want to advocate for people having rats as pets, because they're, like, the best pets. And he, like, went on a big rant about it, because he's like, when we did Guardians of the Galaxy, I had a lot of people online, and a lot of people being like, oh, well, they want raccoon as a pet, and he's like raccoons as a pet, and he's like, don't do it, they're terrible pets, get a rat instead. And, like, he's just been talking about how great rats are as pets, and that's why he wanted to put Ratcatcher 2 in there. And then that's obviously followed up by Margot Robbie, who in one of the interviews talking about how great rats are as well, because she had the rats that Jared Leto gave her on the last film, she kept as a pet for a long time. And then, it was just like both of them talking about, and then it was actually a great interview, because it was on Jimmy Kimmel, and Jimmy Kimmel wasn't there, it was hosted by someone else, but it was on the Jimmy Kimmel show, and it's just them two talking about rats, and then in the middle of the couch is John Cena just sitting there in his Peacemaker costume, and I think he's just genuinely confused. One thing I will say, I really love the characters in this film.
Oh, absolutely.
This film has great characters, and what I was surprised, because I don't really think much of John Cena, just because I'm not really that into WWE, and whenever I see him in anything, I'm just like, you're literally just like The Rock. Like, you're just playing that one character that you play. And I know Rock's been, I know Dwayne Johnson's been branching out a little bit more recently. But even then, he's still kind of playing, the big muscly guy. And whenever I see John Cena in a film, I'm like, unless he's in a parody film or like a comedy film where he like just pops up and does like a little bit, I haven't seen much else with him in it, but whenever I see him in films like The Fast and Furious, I'm like, you're just the big muscly guy. So I wasn't really expecting much from him, and then I'm like, wow, this guy's actually a really good comedic actor. Like, the way he delivers, like, my favorite lines in the movie actually come from him. Like, I love the line where he's like, it's like him and Bloodsport. I mean, this isn't really like spoiler, but like, it's him and Bloodsport trying to one up each other. And then at the end, he like shoots the guy with the,
the
exploding
compressed
bullet, whatever.
Bullet, yeah.
Yeah. And then he's like, oh, no one likes to show off. And he's like, unless what they're showing off is dope as fuck.
My favorite for that was actually like just after that. I'm guessing it was just when Idris Elba turns around. It's like, fuck.
Like, what a great character. And you know what's interesting? When they announced the Peacemaker show, I was like, why the fuck are you making a show about this character? Like, what the fuck even is this character? Who cares? And then now that I've watched this movie, I'm like, you know what? I would like to watch an 8-episode HBO Max show with John Cena, because this is great. This is such a... what a great character. I love his line, like just the way like he goes into the monologue about how he's just, if how he'll eat a beach of dicks for liberty, and he's just like, and it's just John Cena like delivering these with a very straight face, and I'm like, just imagine saying these lines out loud with a straight face. Acting, that's what it is. But I also love his other line where he's just like, I love peace. He's like, I cherish peace. I don't care how many men, women, and children I have to kill to get it.
Everyone in the theater burst out laughing at this scene. It was the first movie I've gone to in a while where everyone was like having just a great time.
Yeah.
I miss that cinema environment because the last few movies I've gone to have just been like reruns of classics and stuff. And like, yeah, they're great, but everyone's seen them 1,000 times. So everyone's just kind of watching it for watching it. But then everyone went to this and the whole theater was just having a ball. And that's what this movie is. It's just a
fun time. It's just nonstop fun and a lot of unexpected little bits and pieces that happen throughout, little moments, but it really is like just a movie with a lot of heart and a lot of like these characters, like, I mean, they're, for the most part, they're bad people, but they're just written so well and they're just so likable. It's crazy. Like John Cena's a fucking lunatic, like, but he's just written so well. And like Bloodsport's, like, I mean, Bloodsport is essentially just Deadshot, but it's Idris Elba. But like, he's written so well. Like, he's just such a really well-written character. And like Ratcatcher 2 is not really a bad guy, but
no, arguably Ratcatcher 2 is like the most
2's
innocent of them.
And then Polka Dot Man, great. What a great performance from David, whatever his last name is. The guy that just keeps popping up in things.
I think he was in Ant-Man and the Wasp as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was, and he was in, obviously, he had that little role in Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And he's popped up, I'm pretty sure. I'll have to look it up, but he's been in one of the DC shows, I'm pretty sure. It might have been Gotham. Maybe he was in Gotham. I'm pretty sure he was, actually. Maybe I'm imagining that. Maybe he wasn't, but I swear he was. No, that's not what I want. I don't want Batman actors. Anyway, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, he was in... No, here he is. I can just look him up. Ant-Man, bit of this, bit of that. But yeah, he was great. And one thing I also really loved was just how well Rick Flag was done in this film. Like, I really like Rick Flag as a character as well. I think he was great in this film. Yeah, he was in Gotham.
Was he Penguin?
He played Dwight Pollard. I don't know. Can't remember who that is. No, he wasn't. He wasn't Penguin, but he was in that as well. Yeah, I knew he was. I knew he turned up in something. But yeah, like Rick Flag was really great in this. And like, he also like had like a bit of like comedy moments as well. Like, one of my favorite moments is when he just turns after they... I can't really say this without spoilers, but like, after the squad does something, he turns around to this other character and like you have the little cutaway comedy shot of like Bloodsport and Peacemaker like cat fighting each other, I guess, and then he just like pans to him and he's just got like this deadpan face. He's just like, these guys are fucking idiots. And I'm like, that's a great delivery, well done. But like, there's the bits later on where he's like, I love the bit where like, they're all circling around Peter Capaldi, and then Harley's like, oh, if you cough or whatever without covering your face or whatever, you die. He's like, well, no, like, that's not. But
those last three things we won't kill you for. Except that doesn't give you an excuse to cough without covering your mouth.
Like, he's just going out, and I was actually watching, interviews with cast and stuff, and, like, he was talking about how he got to kind of flex comedic muscles this time, and it seemed he was more into it this time, he didn't really say anything good about...
Did he play Rick Flag in the first Suicide Squad?
Yeah, he did, yeah. Huh. Yeah, he was Rick Flag in the first one. But he was talking about how it was, like, just a very different, experience, and he got to, he's like... He even said, like, this character is a different character to the first film.
Good.
Because, like, I actually went back and watched some clips from the first film. Because I actually watched clips from the first film. Like, I don't know if I could ever watch that film again. But I do enjoy watching, like, clips from it every now and then. But, like, in the first film, he was very much, this cynical, straight, like, take no bullshit soldier character. And there really wasn't much more to him than that. Like, he had the relationship with Enchantress or whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, as a character, like, just watching any clip of him, he's always got this serious, very serious face. And he's always, like, like, there's just, like, there's these shots of Will Smith and him just, like, staring at each other a lot, which is something I didn't notice in the first film. I was watching a clip. You remember the part of the first film where, like, all the squad's taken to that, like the airport, right? And they're all just, like, meeting there for the first time, and Rick Flag's there, and there's, like, this, it goes for, like, 6-7 seconds, but there's, like, this shot of just Will Smith and him just eyeing each other off. They're, like, standing in each other's faces. Nothing happens. They don't say anything. No one else says anything. It's just them staring at each other for a few seconds. And they're like, I'm like, what the fuck is this? I didn't even notice that before. This is the first time I've noticed. And I'm like, these are just two, like, guys just stare at each other down. And then I think Harley Quinn says something, and that's what kind of breaks that moment. But, like, yeah, he's just like this. When this, he's a bit more, like, he's a bit more laid back. I love his delivery of right at the start. Let's just get into spoilers now. Good movie. 10 out of 10. Would recommend watching it. Honestly, best DC film, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I ran into someone on the way out of the cinema, and they were like, oh, what are you up to? I'm like, oh, yeah, just wanted to go see Suicide Squad. And they're like, I don't really want to watch it because of the 2016 one. I'm like, it's nothing like it. Watch it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, it's a soft reboot, like, it's a film that's just, like, pretending the other one doesn't exist, but also there's those pre-existing relationships between, like, Harley and Captain Boomerang and, like, those kind of things. So, like, it's kind of a situation where, like, it's really unclear whether this is, like, that movie still exists or not, or whether this is just like, nah, you know what, like, they've been on a mission before, but this is where we're at now. Because Rick Flag doesn't even mention June at all, like, ever in this film. And they don't really ever talk about the previous thing. It's just, like, that kind of thing of, like, I like a classic soft reboot, right? Like, it's, you've got these characters carrying over from the first film, but we're just not going to mention the first film or any of its events, and we're just going to, like, move past that. I also like, because the Suicide Squad is more mainstream now, they kind of skip through the whole premise really quickly. Because, like, there's no real build-up to it. Like, in the first film, the Suicide Squad wasn't very mainstream back then. So, having, because ever since that film, we've had, like, animated films. We've got the game coming out next year from Rocksteady. Yeah. It's much more mainstream now.
This one was very show don't tell about making the premise as well.
It was, yeah.
If we're going into spoilers now.
Well, it's not really a spoiler because it's just the premise of the film, right?
But, like, I will bring up, when we go into spoilers, I will bring up.
Yeah, we'll come to that in a second. But I'm just saying, like, the premise of the film, the premise of the Suicide Squad, right, is you take the bad guys, you put a bomb in their head, and you send them on covert Black Ops mission for the government. That's it. They skip through that so quickly. It's because, like, they spent, and I think it's just because people have seen the first film, we get it. It's like, we get it. We don't need to have a big monologue from Amanda Waller about what the Suicide Squad is. And they just kind of skip through that very quickly in this film. And I'm glad they did. I'm glad we didn't have a whole scene where, like, people were getting injected and then, you know, Amanda Waller's, like, talking about, you know, this is the Suicide Squad. It's just, like, straight, like, boom, boom, let's go, you know? And I love that. I think that's good. I think everyone gets it now, so they can just get into it. But yeah, let's talk about spoilers now. Let's just jump into it.
So, my thing is, like, I agree 100% with you. It's more mainstream, so everyone knows. But, like, the first one had to do it in the exposition way, where it's like you said, Amanda Waller takes someone into a room and goes, yeah, this is this and this. Whereas...
Yeah, there was, like, some fucking pop music playing or some bullshit, and, you know, like, it was a bunch of characters getting injected, and Amanda Waller was... Yeah. I think in that film, Amanda Waller was talking to the two people at the dinner table, and it was, like, a montage of, like, people being injected, or, like, all the different characters or something or other. And there was some shitty pop music playing in the background, and then it kept cutting to Amanda Waller, like, cutting her steak and eating or some shit.
Yeah. This one does it in... We have Michael Rooker as our stand-in, like, physical exposition. We see him get injected. It's all very rapid fire. He gets injected, gets sent to a beach, and then gets his head blown off. There you go. You've been shown the entire premise.
I mean, that entire beach sequence is literally the premise of the Suicide Squad.
Entirely. Just from the opening sequence, you're like, oh... I get what they are. Okay.
Yeah, in, like, literally, like, within, like, the first, like, minute, you have all the exposition on how the Suicide Squad works, you know. Michael Rooker's been injected. But, fun fact, the guy that injects him is actually the guy that created the Suicide Squad in the comics back in the day. But, yeah, he gets injected, you meet Rick Flag, and you're like, cool, we don't need to introduce Rick Flag because he was in the previous film. And we just get straight into it. And then here's a bunch of new characters. We got the slow-mo walk of them all walking. And you've got, like, Weasel. Who's the other character? You've got Weasel, TDK, Mongal. Obviously, Michael Rooker's character that I've forgotten the name of. Captain Boomerang is there. Yeah, like, just all these characters. And then they all get on the plane. And I love the sequence on the plane. Just, like, all the characters, like, it's just such a funny sequence of, like, just characters, like, they get straight into the characters straight away as well, which is really great. And it's just, like, Captain Boomerang talking a bunch of shit for a while.
There's something about hearing an Australian, I'm biased, of course, but hearing an Australian take the piss out of someone is always fun.
It's like... What kind of dog do you think it is, mate? Is that a dog? Is that a dog? But it's like a very, like, played up Australian accent as well. Like, it's obviously not Jai Courtney's natural Australian accent. Like,
no, it's very hammed up.
Yeah, but, like, I love, and it's like just the dialogue between Harley and Boomer. You know, it's like, I like that. You know, she calls him Boomer and he calls her Hulls. That's great. And, like, you know, there's that whole bit of, like, Captain Boomerang just being like, oh, we're all, you know, we're all about to be slaughtered or whatever he says. And then, like, they just don't know it yet. And then my favorite little moment, though, is this little moment before they take off. And it's fucking Pete Davidson's character, like, trying to do up the seatbelt. And it's just Nathan Fillion just being like, yeah, you just put it around there. And he's like, there you go, you're safe. And he just shakes his head and it's just this... expression on his face sells that moment for me so much. I miss
the expression on his face. I just heard when it panned the camera off of them, all I heard was Pete Davidson go, oh, thanks.
Oh, thanks, man.
Like, what a nice team we have here.
It's great. I do love the bit with Pete Davidson where they're, like, in the hangar and he's, like, standing in front of that soldier and he keeps, like, grabbing up to, like, grab his gun. And the soldier's just like, nah, mate, like, actually stop. Like, you're a fucking idiot. I love Weasel. Weasel's great. Just, like, him just sitting there, just, like, doing his thing. I also love, like, Rick Flag comes over and is like, oh, yeah, you know, like, I mean, look, he's Weasel. Like, he's just harmless. A Weasel. Yeah, I mean, like, he's killed, like, 27 children or whatever, but like, you know, he's agreed to do this. I'm like, does he have a bomb at his head? Like, is he part of the team, or is he just like, nah, he's just like, he's agreed to do this. But yeah, that's great. Anyway, that whole team is a fake out anyway. Because, you know, they just get all killed. It's like, I want to talk about character deaths, really, because, like, I don't want to go into detail on, like, the whole plot of the film. Like, I just want to talk about, like, a few moments.
The movie does not care if you like this character.
Yeah, it's like, well, TDK also, I didn't know this, but TDK was a made-up character by Nathan Fillion and James Gunn. As far as I'm aware, I'm pretty sure they were saying that in one of the interviews I was watching yesterday. I don't know, I was kind of vaguely watching it, but I was doing something else, and I remember them talking about it, but I'm pretty sure TDK is just a made-up character and isn't actually a comic book character. And I'm like, you know what? That makes sense, considering how fucking useless he is.
I think my friend noticed is that TDK wasn't marked as deceased on the board where
yeah. Oh, really? I didn't see that.
I didn't see it either. My friend told me, so I could be wrong. But apparently he's marked as critical condition instead.
Well, yeah, I mean, because we didn't actually see...
Fillion's got a chance to come back.
Because he didn't actually really, like, die when you think about it. Like, they were just shooting his arms, and he was just kind of, like, flailing around. Like, if they were smart, they would also shoot him on the ground. I mean, he's literally right there in front of them. And then he's on the ground. Like, there is that shot in the opening title sequence where, like, you know, he throws up a bit of blood, or, like, he's shooting blood out of his mouth, but he doesn't really, like, you don't see him die. But yeah, like, that opening beach sequence, they just fucking kill off everyone, like, just straight away. That's a great sequence too. I really love that whole sequence. Like, it's so well executed from the moment Pete Davidson steps up and gets, like, shot in the face, and everything just turns to shit. But one thing I really love is the moment before where, like, they're all jumping out of the plane, and, like, Weasel falls in and just drowns.
Did anyone check to see if he could swim?
But, like, this is what I mean by, like, Joel Kinnaman's just, I don't know, he's weirdly really good with, like, comedic acting, because, like, it's just the expression on his face and the delivery just says it all. Is, you know, and then it just cuts to Amanda Waller, and she slowly just turns her head, and it's, like, this, like, 30-second long sequence of Amanda Waller turning her head, cutting away, and then the other guy turning his head, and just being like, oops, you know, like, it was this very unnecessarily long moment. And I was just like, this is great.
The movie's very much made by the characters. Like, yeah, you got Harley being over the top as always, and that's always great. It's the straight-laced characters that really sell the movie.
Yeah, it's your Rick Flags.
Your Rick Flags, your somewhat Bloodsport, your Amanda Waller. I love, even though I hate Amanda Waller.
Yeah. She's
great. I hate her. Every time...
She has those... There's, like, the bit where she's playing golf for some reason. And you're just like, what the fuck are you doing?
It's like... Viola Davis gives, like, the best fed up with life face I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. It's like the bit where they're all, like, taking bets. And she just walks in, and they're just like, oh, yeah, we're just doing a meeting. And she just rolls her eyes and walks away.
And then later on, she's just staring at the screen, her eye twitching. And you're like, yep, I feel it. I know what you're going through right now.
Yeah, but, yeah, they just literally kill off all these characters straight away, first thing. I think the most unexpected thing, but I kind of expected it to happen in the movie at some point, just because he wasn't in a lot of the marketing, was Captain Boomerang. I just didn't expect him to just be killed off straight away. But his death is great. Like, I like he just gets impaled. He just sits there, and then just before he dies, he, like, has this, like, well, just before the helicopter crushes him, he has, like, this moment where just before he kind of smiles and just shrugs his shoulders, like, you know, what can you do? You know, like, it's a very typical, like, I don't know, I just felt like it's a very typical Aussie way to deal. It's just like, whatever, you know. I really love it. It's a very brief blink and you miss it moment, because he's just kind of sitting there on the beach impaled by all the, like, the bits of the tree. and then it's just like a very brief, you blink and you miss it moment just before he gets completely wiped out. But I really like that. I was like, that's such a nice touch to his character, because like, you know, it could be like a really dramatic moment, and they did treat it as a dramatic moment, but it was also like, he was just kind of like, yeah, you know, shit happens, you know? I love it. Good shit. But I reckon we should, so basically a bunch of characters die. I don't know, like, what are moments that stand out to you?
Anything with Peter Capaldi stood out to me, but that's only because of my Doctor Who bias.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. I mean, he's literally essentially just playing the Doctor, really. Like, I love them. It's like a very dark and twisted version, but like, it's essentially this. You know what it actually is like? I'll tell you what it's like. It's like Malcolm Tucker and the 12th Doctor mixed into one character. Because there's like that bit where he's like giving the speech about like how, you know, the government, to Rick Flag and Ratcatcher too, about how the
Americans,
you know, like,
are using the island to like cover up their side of things.
And it's very much like, it's very like much like a Doctor monologue, except he's just fucking swearing the whole time as well. There's one very specific line where he says, and I'm like, that's just Malcolm Tucker right there.
Yes, I can't remember the line verbatim, but I know what you're talking about. But also, he did that thing whenever Pico seems to do this whenever Americans come up, where he puts on the fake American accent. Yeah. And it reminded me of the Zygon inversion when he goes, fingers on buzzers, and I'm like, aha, we're doing this. I love it.
I love his line. Where like the general's like, oh, that shit in your head makes your brain good. And he's like, yes, it makes my brain good. And I was like, that is like just a Doctor line as well. Like, because his Doctor was very sarcastic at times and would say things in that exact same way. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I'm like, I'm not just saying it because it's Peter Capaldi, and like, obviously, you know, he performs, you know, like Peter Capaldi obviously has a way he performs, but like, there's just so many little like mannerisms and things that he's just seemed to brought in. And it makes sense because he did say that he knew nothing about the character prior to getting the script. And, you know, he did try to read into the character, but he's just like, because there's just so much, you know, DC history and so many different versions of the character that, you know, he just said he's just going to work with what's in the script and not pay attention to any other, like, iteration of the character. So, you know, I like that he's just drawing little mannerisms from different things and just bringing it together to play the thinker. But yeah, no, he was really good.
I'll never be able to see. Whenever I go back through season 10 now, whenever he tells someone not to look at his browser history on the glasses, I'm not gonna be unable. I'm gonna think of when he said he essentially fucked a starfish.
Yeah, good.
That's gonna be in my mind every time 12 says don't look at my browser history.
Yeah. It's like at the end, maybe that's what the first Doctor's reacting to when he like puts the thing on. He's just looking, he's just like, wait, what the fuck is this? It's just like a starfish. I really like that this film went down the road of like Starro, because I know nothing about that character, but like, it's just so silly.
Is it
at
not
the end? It's just this big fucking starfish just like smashing up a town. It's so funny, and I love it.
Is it not? Is Starro a fucking comic book villain?
Yeah, it's based on a comic book.
I thought it was made for the movie.
It's based off a comic book storyline. Yeah, there's like actually comic book storyline, and the whole thing where he, like Starro like has like little Starro babies that like, you know, they're like face huggers. They just like hug the faces. Like, that's all in a comic book storyline as well. It might be a Suicide Squad storyline actually, because I know James Gunn drew heavily from a very specific Suicide Squad run from the 90s for this film. I mean, you see it in the logo and everything. Like, it's so yeah, like there's a lot of inspiration drawn specifically from the film, but I just love how ridiculous it is, and it just works. Like, Starro just works I don't know, is it Stario or Starro? I don't know.
I
It
think it's
doesn't matter.
Starro, but
Big fucking giant starfish boy. Um, and I like that he's just like this. It's just hilarious watching this giant starfish just kick fucking buildings. I don't know what was so funny about it. Just watching like this big wide shot of this giant starfish just take one of its like, take one of its like tentacle leg things and just like fucking kick a building. Because there is like a shot where it's just like kicking them, like it's just smashing buildings. Like it's not even like crushing it from the top in one shot. Like there's just a shot where it's just like whacking it with one of its like, one of the sides is just whacking it, and I love it. I love it so much. Like, what a great villain. But yeah, I don't know. It's a good movie. There's a lot of great moments, like the bit before I was talking about, where like Bloodsport and Peacemaker are trying to one up each other. That's a great sequence. And it starts great with like King Shark just coming up and just munching on the dude. And I like how you could still hear him screaming as he's being munched on until like a certain point where it's like in the lower part of his legs. And you just hear the screaming stop. That's fucking brutal. I love it. I love that this movie's R-rated.
Yes.
There's a lot that he can... I think it works really well for this movie. I think it works really well, the R-rated, and it's not just R-rated in like gore and stuff. There's a lot of really like there's a lot of like really dry, I don't even know if dry humor is the way to describe it, but there's a lot of like really dry, crude humor in this that you just wouldn't get if it wasn't R-rated. You know what I mean? Like yeah. Going back to that scene, I love the bit. My favorite part, the bit that cracks me up, is just the one shot of like Bloodsport on one end of the camera frame, and then Peacemaker on the other end of the frame, and it's just this one shot of them just going through the village. And I love the bit that cracks me up is the bit where like Peacemaker like slits someone's throat. And he just grabs his axe and he's just like hacking up this dude who's sleeping. And it's just these quick hacks. I don't know what it is about that, but it's just so funny to me. Watching Peacemaker just absolutely hack this dude. And the dude's just like, you see his head kind of moving. The bit that gave that scene away to me though was the bit where like he kills the random girl who's just doing the washing. And I was like, yeah, okay, so these obviously aren't bad guys. And obviously, I think that's intentional because, like, up until that point, all the other guys were just, like, dudes and just, like, soldiers off duty or whatever, right? But then you have that one shot of that one girl doing the washing and you're just like, yeah. Okay, that kind of gave the scene away for me. That kind of gave it away for me. But I love how that's also, like... I just love that little moment where they like open up the thing and Rick Flag's like, sup? And then they're all just like, oh yeah. And then like, then she's just like, why didn't my people alert me? And they're all just like, people? What people? I didn't see any people. What a good scene. I love that whole moment.
I like that Harley is... When Harley's character is somehow completely done now, after like 2 movies of focusing pretty much on Harley, so Harley's just been relegated to side quests, but it's always great when it happens. Because like,
I really love,
I love that she had her whole own plot, and like it harkened a bit back to Joker, but it was just nice to have her doing batshit insanity and not being like a background character. I
love her whole action sequence
with the flowers and the psychedelic shit.
It's great. Yeah, I'm just like, this is great. It reminded me a lot of the police station scene in Birds of Prey. Just like all these colorful colors. And I know it's slightly different because in Birds of Prey, like she was just actually using paint and just shit to take on all this whole station of police. Where in this, it's like, well, this is just what she sees. Like all the flowers and shit. Like it's just how she views the world. It's not actually there. Like, she's just stabbing dudes with the javelin. But like she just sees flowers coming out of them. I thought that was a nice little touch. Nice little great scene there. Speaking of Harley Quinn, there's obviously everyone keeps asking Margot Robbie about Poison Ivy. And she's always like yeah, like the, you know, I want it to happen too. And so I feel like the next logical step for that character would be to kind of bring Poison Ivy into the mix and do something there. I think that would be the next logical step to take that character. And because like they've been through like 3 different stages. Like there's the stage where she's with Mr. J, and there's that whole Suicide Squad thing where like, you know, she's all about Mr. J and all that.
Yeah.
And then they've had like Birds of Prey, which is like the grief period, you know, like the post Mr. J period, where Holly's just fucking depressed, trying to find herself. And then like in this film, she's very much like independent of Mr. J. She's very much just doing her own thing now. So I feel like the next logical step to take that character would be to bring Poison Ivy into the mix and do something there in the next film, whenever that is. I hope they do more. I hope she just keeps playing Harley Quinn.
She seems to be enjoying the role.
Just make just make another Harley Quinn movie, because Birds of Prey is essentially a Harley Quinn movie. So just make another one of those.
Yeah.
Do you know what would have been a bold move? And I'm glad they didn't do it, because I do love Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn a lot. But do you know what would have been bold? Would have been killing off Harley Quinn in this film. That would have been fucking bold and just wild out there. Probably would have made so many people mad too.
Yeah, it would.
But it would have just been a bold move. Like, I feel like that character's been on a bit of a journey with Birds of Prey and in this film, and you know, like having a heroic sacrifice or something. Like, not even just like having her killed off randomly. Like, it would have to be a heroic sacrifice. But like, that would have just been interesting. Like, what a bold way to... I'm glad they didn't do it. And obviously, like, Harley Quinn is protected by plot armor and franchise armor. Like, they're obviously not going to kill her off. But unless you're Zack Snyder, am I right, boys? But yeah, like, it's... Yeah, you just know whenever you see anything with her, you just know she's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Rick Flag's death was one that was, like, just came out of nowhere and was surprising, because I actually genuinely like that character. So when you know, Peacemaker just stabbed him in the heart, I was like, oh shit, no one, you know, none of the, because I thought, you know, going into this, I'm like, well, Rick Flag's like the experienced soldier, like he's gonna be fine, you know, Harley's gonna be fine because it's Harley Quinn. You know, and I was like, I wasn't expecting Rick Flag to die, but I guess that's why they brought in Idris Elba as well, is kind of to like set up, because I'm assuming they're gonna do another one of these.
I hope so.
Hopefully with James Gunn too. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was like, there's only one other director I could think of right now that would actually make an absolute banging Suicide Squad movie, and that director is Edgar Wright. I feel like he would be the perfect director as well for a Suicide Squad movie. Could you just imagine, like if James Gunn's not available for the next one, because I know he's obviously off doing Guardians 3 now, and all of that, but like if he's not available, get Edgar Wright in, you know? Like, you could all, you like, I know Edgar Wright's been like burnt by like Marvel and shit, but like, get him in, because Edgar Wright does really well with ensemble casts.
Yeah. And
I think getting him in to do a movie with ensemble cast, like the Suicide Squad, I think that would be great. I just think, I feel like it would be hard to go back to a he'd have to do it R-rated. Because I feel like it'd be back to go. But like, again, like a Suicide Squad movie with him would be also a very different kind of movie to what this movie was. And I want to see more of this, but I'd also be open. I just feel like I can't really think of any other directors that I think would do an ensemble cast as well.
Yeah. They've
I think
much...
it's really just these two. I would like to... and you know what... nah. I mean, maybe the Russo brothers as well, but I feel like the Russo brothers are kind of done with comic book stuff and they just want to do their own thing now. But like, I would love Edgar Wright to be given a second chance with like a comic book property.
It'd be interesting.
Since I think it would work really well. And obviously, that's if James Gunn ain't available, I'd say just get him, bring him in, pay him fucking X amount of money, and just be like, hey, look, this is just a gig to pay the bills, but we know you're gonna do a great job, so we're just gonna give you full freedom. We're not like Marvel, you know. We're Warner Brothers, you know. We are a piece of shit, but we're not like Marvel. We're just gonna let you do what you want. And just make us a banger movie. They might be like we need, you know, they might be like, okay, so like we need, because the last one was successful, we just need you to incorporate Harley Quinn, you know, Bloodsport, whatever. But like other than that, do what the fuck you want. And I feel like he'd be on board with that. But other than that, like there's a lot of deaths in this movie. You know, just characters are dying left, right, and center. But I think the ones that stand out are Rick Flag was definitely one that stood out. Obviously, Peter Capaldi was going to die. Obviously, that was going to happen because he's a bad guy. But I do like, you know, I don't know, there was something really satisfying. I don't know what it was, but just seeing his arms get ripped off and then he just get thrown into a window and just like he just threw into a window and just exploded. I was something really
that one.
I was like, there's something really satisfying about that. I was like, oh, that was nice. That was good.
Polka Dot Man was.
Polka Dot Man was. I mean, look, the thing about Polka Dot Man's death, and apparently, like, he wasn't meant to die either. Apparently, Ratcatcher 2 was in the original script. James Gunn was saying like that she was meant to die and Polka Dot Man was meant to survive, but he swapped it around because I think he said he swapped it around because he liked Ratcatcher 2 as a character too much to kill her, but also I think he said something like, you know, Polka Dot Man's been on a bit of an arc. It's a bit of an arc. Like, let's be honest, Polka Dot Man's arc's a very small arc in this film, but he's been on a bit of a journey that it just makes sense to kill him off. The thing that the red herring for me was the moment he started screaming, "I'm a superhero." I'm like, yeah, you're dead. You're dead. You're like immediately gonna die. And I love that he just gets squashed. That was fun.
The many potential deaths of King Shark almost got me. Like when he fell out the building, I was like, "There's no way."
Yeah, and then he's just getting riddled with bullets, and he's just like, you know, they just like eats a guy. I love that shot of like the decapitated head just in his mouth, and I was like fully expecting him just to crunch down on it, but he doesn't. They like cut away, but yeah, he really went all out. In fact, like this movie goes all out on blood and gore. It's crazy. Like that shot, that like comic panel hero shot where like King Shark just rips the dude in half. That was fun.
And the lightning strikes down behind.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I quite liked it. I don't have a lot to say in terms of plot. Like, it's, you know, a bunch of stuff happens.
It is simultaneously your every Call of Duty campaign ever, and also every Call of Duty Zombies campaign ever.
Yeah. It's a great film. I reckon we should wrap it up, though. Suicide Squad. I don't really have a lot more to say about it. It's a great film. I think just watch it. I'm definitely going to watch this again. Like this along with like Birds of Prey and you know, just a lot of these more newer DC movies, I'll definitely watch again. Like you know, as I said in the Justice League review, like I'm a fan of that old stuff. Like I really do enjoy the Zack Snyder, you know, the darker take on the universe. But for me, like, you know, like I just like these newer films a lot more. I just like the whole, just let creators, and I think that's how they can differentiate themselves from Marvel, is instead of focusing on a cinematic universe, just let filmmakers make films and just do whatever. You know, you've got a Joker movie, you've got these Batman movies coming up, you know, and like that doesn't mean it doesn't have to be set in the DCEU, but like this movie and Birds of Prey, you know, have just shown that you can make a movie set in the DCEU that's in this same universe as the Zack Snyder kind of stuff, but it's just a completely different thing, and I just want to see more of that.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably just gonna reboot the whole fucking thing with Flash anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But, I like if they do that. I'd like take what works and carry that over. So like obviously we got another Shazam. So I haven't even seen Shazam 1 yet.
Decent movie. I enjoy it.
Yeah. But like take your Shazam, take your Suicide Squad. Like obviously like the thing that's gonna stay is Harley Quinn. Like she obviously just works, so they're not gonna get rid of her. But like just take what works, and then you can just do whatever. Like I wouldn't even be surprised if because apparently we're getting a Joker sequel, apparently, which I'm not on board for, but swings and roundabouts, I guess. But I'm interested. To see where it goes from here. I think, I am actually getting keen for the Flash movie. I will be honest. Like, I'm really interested to see what they do, and I really hope we get like a Flashpoint spin-off out of it with like Flashpoint Batman and that storyline, because you've got the perfect actor for that. You've got Jeffrey D. Morgan, perfect actor to play that version of Batman. You could totally do like a HBO Max miniseries with like him and the chick that plays Martha, and she's the
Lauren
Joker.
Cohan.
Lauren Cohan, yeah, they're both in The Walking Dead.
Yeah, they're also,
just take him.
Yeah,
they're both out of work
both
now.
in Supernatural.
They are. I'm actually watching season 3 of Supernatural right now.
I'm watching season 6 of Supernatural right now.
I'm rewatching through the whole thing, and
I've never seen it before.
Okay, yeah, I've seen most of it. The only ones I haven't seen is like season 12, 13, 14, and 15 yet, but everything up to about season 11, I think the start of season 12 I've seen. But it's good. You've actually passed the point of that show where like the story is done.
Yep. I am
So
now 2 episodes into the new era.
You've got another 10 seasons of just continued story.
Yep.
It's a bit of a mixed bag from here on out, but there's some really good stuff in there as well. But like, yeah, they're both in there, and they're both in The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead's finished, probably.
I think
so.
No, I don't think season 11's come out yet.
It doesn't matter. Like they're both in that. They're both going to be out of work soon. Why don't you just take both of them? The Flash movie's coming out, and develop a Flashpoint Batman HBO series, like mini series. Just do that. That'd be great. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, I don't know. Suicide Squad's good. I want more of it. I'm looking forward to Peacemaker. I reckon, a show I wasn't looking forward to it at all, but I reckon we definitely need to cover.
I'm looking forward to the Rocksteady game now. I kind of put the Rocksteady game aside, but now I'm really looking forward to it. But I'm gonna be sad because it's not gonna be the main cast from the movie.
Yeah, it's just
I've actually grown to really love.
But that game is it is essentially. It's essentially almost the same team, kind of. Like you've got King Shark, Harley Quinn, Captain Boomerang. And that game's gonna have Deadshot instead of Bloodsport, but I really hope Bloodsport turns up because Idris Elba's just great. He's great in everything he's in, and I just want more of that. Like that character was a lot of fun, especially the bit where he's just like yelling at his daughter. They're yelling at each other, and it's just them just saying "fuck you" to each other, and it's just, it's so petty. I love it. But yeah, that's the Suicide Squad. That's our little thoughts and review on that. Definitely go check that out. But let's move on. We'll get into the catch-up segment in just a bit, but let's talk about the big Doctor Who news that came out recently, and that is that Jodie Whittaker and Chris Chibnall are leaving next year after a trio of specials.
Yeah.
And I guess the other news is that this series is going to be 6 episodes instead of 8 episodes, and I guess they're just taking, because originally the series was meant to be 10, COVID pushed it down to 8, and then I guess they're just doing 7 and 8 next year as part of the special, so they've just commissioned an extra episode, because now this episode, series 13, is only going to be 6 episodes, and then we have 3 specials next year.
Yeah.
So Yeah, interesting. Which makes it easier for us because you know, we might still do that like, you know, weekly Doctor Who show that we talked about doing at the start of the year, and we only have to do 6 episodes of it. But so that's one thing, and then so they're leaving. So what are your thoughts on that? Even though I know what your thoughts are because we've already discussed.
Yeah, this is one of the things we actually have discussed off the podcast. My thoughts on them leaving is I want it to go well. I don't have a massive hate boner for Chris Chibnall. I don't like seasons 11 and 12 as much as anything that came before it. I might like season 12 a bit more than some of season 7B, but you know I don't like season 7B. But
yeah. To be fair, I mean, look, to be fair, I would categorize season 11, 12, and series 7B and the Doctor, the Widow, the Wardrobe, and those other 2 episodes that I don't like, all in like the same category of just like really shit Doctor Who. But you know, like there's moments in all of those things that I do like. Well, in some of those things, I do like series 7B in the sense that like there's some good ideas in there. I just and I do like Jenna Coleman. I just don't like Clara in that series. But there's a lot of good ideas, like the Journey to the Center of the TARDIS episode had potential.
I like I don't dislike the entire. I don't like Hyde. Yeah. I just it's one of those episodes that when it comes up, I'm like, Hyde's on.
Which one's Hyde?
That's Hyde with the supernatural experts in the house, and there's 2 aliens that are in love.
I actually really love that episode until about the last 5-10 minutes. I actually think it's really like I like that episode because I think it does. I just like Matt Smith trying to navigate a horror story. Like just watching the 11th Doctor try to I love the bit where they're like standing there in the hallway and then it's just him and Clara and he's just like, Clara's just like, you don't need to grab my hand, and he's just like, I like that he just like puts up his hand and there's like that moment. It's just Matt Smith reacting to things. I love it. I love Matt Smith trying to navigate a horror plot. It's great.
Which we will see more of later this year.
Yeah, well, when I say Matt Smith, I mean the 11th Doctor trying to navigate a horror plot. But yeah, like I categorize them all as the same. So like for me, I'm very much the same. I know Chris Chibnall can do drama.
Broadchurch.
But to be fair, Broadchurch is only good for 1 series anyway. Yeah. So.
But it's one series that counts.
I don't know. And actually, he was responsible for some of the shit Torchwood, but also some of the good Torchwood. So
he's
it's
a
kind
mixed
of
bag writer.
Yeah, but I just feel like his Doctor Who, I could definitely say with confidence that his episodes of all the new run, his episodes are the worst episodes, for the most part.
Season 12 was a bit better because Spyfall Part 1 and even Part 2 to an extent, is better than quite a bit of the not Chris Chibnall episodes.
Remember that time when the 13th Doctor was like, "Hey, you know how you're a different race to the Nazis? Yeah, well, I'm gonna use that against you." That was fun. I like how my biggest problem with this whole era, and this is why I don't really care that Chris Chibnall's leaving, because I think he's just a shit writer anyway, for the most part. Like, he writes some good stuff here and there, but I think compared to like when Stephen Moffat was bad,
it was still good.
It was still good. Like, it was just kind of like you could tell that his ideas are, he's scraping the bottom of the barrel a bit with this one, or like, you know, sometimes, like, especially with Series 7B, I feel like, you know, his contributions to Series 7B outside of the name of the Doctor and the 50th anniversary specials and that, like, his other contribution to that was, what, the first episode?
The Bells of St. John?
Which, look, I have fun with that episode, but it's a dumb episode.
It is.
And I feel like he just wrote that really quickly just to kind of get it out there, because like that was around the time that he was working on the 50th anniversary special and all that as well. So I feel like it was just like, yeah, just smash it out, you know, like just get it out there. But then there's like, yeah, there's times where like, when his ideas, like when you're scraping the bottom of the barrel a bit, that's when his episodes were bad.
But you can still have fun with those episodes.
They're still decent. Like, that's the thing. Like,
like you said, it's dumb, but I quite enjoy the Bells of St. John, if not just for the Doctor riding up the Shard on a fucking motorbike while the majestic tale of a madman in a box plays. Like,
that's great.
It's stupid, but at some points, that's why I'm here.
But like with
Chibnall,
with Chibnall, I don't really get that. Like, a lot of his episodes, like, and I think a lot of his episodes are the weaker ones out of the whole lot. Like, a lot of the guest writers come in and just outshine him.
Especially for season 11, where his contribution, he had one solid contribution in season 11, and that was the first episode, where we were all like, oh yeah, this could go well, and then it didn't.
I like the second episode too, actually. I think they're probably his two best.
I like Ghost Monument, but I find that Ghost Monument actually has, like, quite a few flaws in it. It's the first episode to truly show his issues as a writer that did not go away. Show don't tell was something he just can't do.
And I do like the New Year's specials.
I
will say fair. I think he's done a good job with those. And like series 12, I mean, I guess like series 12 is a step up from series 11, obviously, but like even then, I'm just kind of like, it's still a bit shit though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's just not good. It's no good, and that's the problem. But yeah, I'm not really too fussed he's leaving. The only thing I want is, at least if he's gonna leave, at least leave on a banger.
Yeah.
And series 13 is going to be essentially one big story, which I'm assuming is probably going to lead into the trio of specials next year, which is going to kind of lead up. So I'm expecting more Timeless Child, because I guess now the Timeless Child arc's probably, like, remember how we were talking about how theorizing that the Timeless Child arc's going to kind of lead into the 60th, and it's just going to be like this slow lead in. I think it's just going to not now, and I think it's just going to lead
leading up to the regeneration.
And then we're just going to move on, and then we're just going to pretend, we're just going to figure, I'm sure the next showrunner is just probably going to forget that ever happened, and we're just going to move on with it.
People have brought up that, and I think now, especially now that this is how I kind of agree with people, the 60th probably won't be as big as anyone was hoping. It'll probably be things like Big Finish and everybody chucking in their hand to prep it up, and like the series will probably have a good episode around that time, but I'm not expecting multi-Doctor anymore.
I reckon it'll be kind of hard to do, especially if you're introducing a new Doctor. I think the smart thing to do would be, because they're going to have to announce a showrunner soon, like, and they probably already got a new showrunner, I would assume. Like, I'm assuming they told Chris Chibnall said he was going to leave a while ago, and so that's why they've commissioned this extra episode, and they're planned ahead for this. So I would assume they would have a new showrunner by now. There's no way within the time frame, because Stephen Moffat was announced as the new showrunner in like 2008, right? Like 2 years before his series aired. Like we need a new showrunner, and not just that, but this showrunner has to come in with a new Doctor, and also on the 60th anniversary year as well. And I feel like it's a lot for a new showrunner. I think the smart thing to do would be to have a new showrunner now, cast a new Doctor this year, reveal a new Doctor this year, and then work on the series and shoot the next series. I mean, they're going to probably shoot the next series next year, but I feel like they should do what they did with the previous with series 7 and split the series over 2 years, and then just have like Jodie Whittaker's specials during the year, but then actually have series 14 at the end of the year, so then there's not a big gap between when Jodie leaves and the new Doctor comes in, and then we have time to kind of set up a new Doctor. They have their own full series, and then maybe you could do something for the 60th later on. Because I think if the 60th anniversary is incorporated into series 14, I think it's just going to take away from the new Doctor, and I just don't think it's going to be the best way to go about it. honestly, you know what you could do?
Give the
And I don't
Doctor
know
amnesia
how-
and go back for the past, just like 8. Let's do it.
No, what I'm thinking you could do is you could have the new Doctor in their own standalone series, but then have the special focused around other Doctors and not actually have the new Doctor necessarily a part of it. Like, you could even, like, it really depends on what the showrunner wants to do, because you could really, like, the showrunner could come in and go, I'm just going to focus on telling a tight-knit story with my series, but then maybe the showrunner could, like, you know, produce the 60th but maybe not write it. And you could, I mean, this is just wishful thinking, but you could bring back like a Stephen Moffat or a Russell T Davies, or, you know, like a previous show, like a writer, to do that, and then that could focus on that, and then that way you're not taking away from a new Doctor, but you're also not, you know, ignoring the 60th. Like, you could have the new Doctor a part of it, like, but maybe they're like a smaller role. Like, you could do a lot of things. Remember back when Stephen Moffat was writing the 50th anniversary special with no Doctors?
Yes, because he didn't know if he could get all of them. So he was like, yeah, Clara's gonna save the Doctor from, like, apparently the Doctor was gonna be turned into a fictional character.
Yeah.
And Clara had to save him. And, like, when you read that knowing what the 50th actually was, you're like, oh, that's
just shit. Like, I mean, it's looking like right now the 60th may be just like a small thing.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm fine with that. Like, I would like, you know what would be good, actually? Like, why don't you do, like, a little mini-series for the 60th?
Born again.
And, like, tell a bigger story over the course of episodes in November. Like, you could have, like, say, like a 3-episode mini-series. And you could do, like, the good thing about that is you could have a different episode focused on a different Doctor. So rather than have, like, here's just a bunch of Doctors thrown at you, you could have, like, 3 episodes.
Yeah, it gives you time to celebrate the Doctor as a character and different incarnations without having them have to clash up against each other. Because everyone's happy to see 10 back in the 50th, but it's very much still 11's show. Whereas if you do a free episode, I like that idea. I like that.
Yeah, but then you could do, like, you could have the new Doctor maybe be the main Doctor for the, like, finale.
Yeah.
And then you could bring in a bunch of Doctors for that. But then you could have, like, 2 episodes where, like, maybe the new Doctor is there, but it's, you know, in, like, little bits, but it's maybe focused from the perspective of, say, like, the 10th Doctor, and, you know, you could have, like, and maybe you could have, like, smaller team ups. So maybe you could have, like, 10 and 11 again doing something, because I feel like I know we've seen it before, but those two work really well together. So I feel like you could have maybe 10 and 11 doing something. You know, like, you I mean, if they do not bring back Peter Capaldi, I'm gonna be mad. I'm gonna riot. We need 12 back. I don't know if Jodie Whittaker would come back though, especially since she's just left.
Yeah.
I don't know. It might. I feel like she would come back maybe in a small role, like a cameo.
The reverse
like
Capaldi.
Yeah. But yeah, like, I like the idea of, like, maybe doing a mini-series.
I'm going to be disappointed that's not how that goes now.
Yeah, it's probably not going to happen. It's probably just going to be, like, a special, or maybe even just nothing. Because let's be honest, the BBC don't market this show as it is. So I highly doubt we're going to have anything like the 50th anniversary. You know, because 50th anniversary had, like, cinema release, and, you know, it was like this... It was this big deal, and I reckon just for this like...
This kind of gives me flashbacks, and of course I wasn't alive at the time, and neither were you, but...
the Vietnam War flashbacks?
Vietnam War flashbacks. Let's go back to a time called the 25th season of Doctor Who. Sylvester McCoy's second season, where we both got Remembrance of the Daleks. Great episode. But that wasn't the special that year. We got Nemesis in Silver as the special for the anniversary. And by all accounts, I've never seen the episode. By all accounts, it's not good. I'm getting weird flashbacks to that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could always incorporate it into the finale, I guess, as well. But I just feel like doing anything in a new Doctor's first season, I think, is a bad move.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying, like, just do Series 14 next year. Like, don't just do 3 specials. Like, just maybe do Series 14 next year. Like, you could have Chris Chibnall working on the final special, because I think they're shooting the first 2 specials as part of Series 13 anyway. But, like, you could have him work on the final special and have the new showrunner work on the next series and just have them both in production at the same time.
Yeah, at least get the scripts written. Like,
well, yeah, and shoot next year, get the series out next year, and then that way when the 60th rolls around, you could do the second series, and you could do, like, the specials, and then you could incorporate the specials in, like, given timeline-wise, considering Doctor Who comes out late in the year now, or earlier in the year, or just doesn't come out at all, who fucking knows, really, when it will be, but I feel like if you had a series air around the 60th anniversary, you could have it build up to it, and then be the finale. And bring back multi-Doctors. But, like, yeah, I think if it's this Doctor's first series, I don't know. I am sad to see Jodie go, though,
I am too.
I will say.
I'm hoping Jodie joins Big Finish, because
we desperately need someone else to write her.
Yeah.
That's why I'm looking forward to this new game, actually. I'm looking forward to, because I haven't played, obviously, Edge of Time, but I'm looking forward to just Jodie Whittaker's Doctor being written by someone else. Just anyone else.
Yeah.
Anyone else. Like, because obviously Chris Chibnall had nothing to do with that, really.
I'm looking forward to consistency in a character.
Yeah. They could just do what they did with 6. Like,
yeah, I love Colin Baker's fucking Big Finish saga.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They could just do what they did with 6.
He went from my, like, least favorite Doctor to, like, not my favorite, but he's fucking up there. I love him.
Yeah. Oh, I do love going back and watching a good old Colin Baker episode every now and then, though.
I recently watched the second serial in the Trial of the Time Lord, Mind Warp, which is notably Perry's last serial. What the fuck?
It's a wild ride.
It really was. I just couldn't believe that they ended that serial on her fucking dying like that. And I was like, is that it? And then apparently they just move on. I was like, wow. Yeah. Classic Who did not give a shit.
Trial of the Time Lord was wild. I think it's one of my favorites, actually. It's just a great little series. I love the finale as well. Like, the Doctor going up against the Valiard in the Matrix. But yeah, that's just some big news, so we'll see what happens with that. I feel like, though, with the 14th Doctor, you have to cast a woman in the role at this point. Like, it's not really just because, like, it's going to be a situation if you don't cast a woman in the role again. It's going to be a situation of where you'll have one group of people, you know, that will complain about that, but then you have the group of people that are going to take that as a victory. And are going to take that as, like, yeah, like, you know, they're backtracking on this and they're going, you know, it's going to seem like it's going back to normal. And you're going to have that very specific group of people on YouTube, and you know who I'm talking about, exactly. who are going to claim it as a victory, and they're going to claim it as the, you know, the failed experiment and shit. So I feel like you need to double down, cast a woman as the Doctor, the next Doctor, just so you can be like, all right, this is a thing now that can happen, and it's not just like we're going back to normal. Just double down on it, and obviously these channels will you know, it'll just fuel the fire for these channels. But either way, whether you cast a woman or whether you don't cast as a woman, I feel like these channels are just going to make videos about Chris Chibnall and Doctor Who for years. You know, they're just not going to stop. So I feel like it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But I feel like you need to do it, because otherwise it's going to just be seen as backtracking if you don't do it. So I think, yeah, woman is the Doctor. And also, if Yaz has absolutely no character development in the next series whatsoever, keep Yaz on.
Yaz was the Rani all along.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? Actually, I'd be fine with that. Just make her the Ruddy. What a great... Just done. At least I'm like, okay, there's actually a character here now. But all her character comes from is the Ruddy from the classic series. But still, like, at least there's a character. Because my big problem is... And that's one thing I hope for Series 13 in these specials, is I really hope, when it's all done, I hope Chris Chibnall and Jodie can both leave with a banger. And I hope I have some sense of who this Doctor is as a character, because right now I don't know who this character is, even after 2 seasons. I just don't know. I don't know who she is. She's a Tennant impersonator. Not Jodie herself. I mean, like, the Doctor. Like, she's literally all the base character traits of the Doctor, and that's it. There's, like, nothing more to this character, and that's why I really want them to, like, as much as I hate, like, I've really grown to hate the idea of the Timeless Child being the Doctor, but as much as they've done that, if they just double down on it and really focused on what I want to know, Lewin, what I want to know is, how does this affect the Doctor? And we got a little bit of that in the New Year's special, but I want a full series of that. And if we're going to have a full series arc, I want that to be the Doctor's character arc. How does she deal with this?
It's a weird rehash of... The way I see it going at the moment, it's a very weird rehash of Capaldi's Am I a Good Man arc. Yeah. Where he slowly relearns what it's like to be the Doctor. Except for 13, it would be her slowly, like, or quickly realizing it doesn't, like... I want a more gradual layout of the "it doesn't matter" clause, instead of just Jack going, "Oh, you're still the Doctor," and then everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. Silly me."
Yeah, you're still the Doctor's. Yeah, and then she's just like, yeah, of course I am. Like, no, you're not. You're obviously not. So actually deal with that. I do want to see Ruth again. The Ruth Doctor. We need to see her. Like, she can't just be like this one and done role in series 12. Like, she has to be a major role.
I want to see more of The Division.
The Division? Tom Clancy's The Division.
Tom Clancy's The Division. I want a third game. I don't like the first two. But,
also, fuck Ubisoft. But yeah, like, I want to see more of that kind of stuff. But, I hope they can leave on a banger. I hope it's going to be good. Yeah. And it's going to be a very depressing weekly podcast if it's not. But do you know what I was thinking of doing with that podcast is, like, in between seasons, we could maybe do, like, little podcast mini-series where we, like we could just record the episodes and then I would just release them weekly when we do it. But it could be, like, say, like 2 or 3 episodes or whatever that focus around a very specific thing. Like, so, like, in between the series, we could go, well, let's go revisit this classic story arc. Yeah. You know, like, we could go and do The Key to Time, or, something like that.
I like that idea. I recently finished season 1 for the very first time. It was very slow, but I had a good time.
Yeah. And, like, it wouldn't be a regular thing, but, like, we could just do it, like, every now and then. Yeah. We could be like, all right, well, let's watch these episodes, record them, and then what I'll do is I'll just edit them together, do it, and then just release them weekly. Like, it wouldn't be like this, where we, like, just record it, and then release it, and then, you know, a few weeks later or whatever, we'll record the next episode. And,
yeah, for people
like, we could just record it all at once, you know?
This is kind of needed. We are incapable of shutting up about Doctor Who.
Yeah.
We sometimes get on a 2-episode streak, but you better believe there will be a reference somewhere.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like, we'll just do a separate show for it.
This is needed.
And then do that. But look, it's almost time to wrap up this episode, I think, Lewin. I know we haven't done the catch-up segment, but we'll just quickly do the catch-up segment. So we've both been watching a lot of the same stuff during our little hiatus. Yes. We've watched... hold on, what have we watched?
Loki,
what have we watched? We watched Loki,
Falcon
we watched
the Winter Soldier,
Falcon the Winter Soldier, Black Widow.
A lot of Marvel.
A lot of Marvel. I will say, out of all of those things, I liked Black Widow until half an hour before the end.
I like how extra...
The point when they went, and then I was just like, this is just like watching a Fast and Furious movie now. Like, it's just so shit. I didn't like the end of that at all, but I liked the rest of the movie, and I think it's just because it kind of echoes in as to why I like Falcon and the Winter Soldier so much, because I really like that grounded spy espionage kind of thing, and that's what Black Widow kind of was for most of its runtime. I was like, this is very much like watching a Captain America movie.
Yeah.
you know, like Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Like I was getting really serious Winter Soldier vibes from the movie, and then it just went all to shit at the end, and I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. But Falcon the Winter Soldier, fucking love that show.
I also love it.
What a great show. It's just great. It was so good to be back. And you know what's funny? I finished watching that show, and I actually immediately, a couple of days later, not immediately, but a couple of days later, I went back and watched The Winter Soldier, and I was like, fuck, this is just so good. I love that very specific Captain America part of the universe. And I'm glad that, you know, it got to be expanded on and explored a bit. You know, we got to see what happened to Sharon and what she's up to, and I like that they're kind of setting her up for being a bad guy almost.
Yeah.
It's really good, but it's just great for character arcs for Falcon and Winter Soldier, because it's really just, the whole show is just about getting Falcon to a point where he can be Captain America.
And getting Bucky to a point where he's healthy, getting mentally healthy.
Yeah. You know, these are like, you know, because like, I mean, yeah, like you could have always gone down the easy route and gone, yeah, we're doing a Captain America 4, but, you know, Falcon's just Captain America now. But I like that they went, no, he just can't do it. And then I also like how they explored the whole kind of like racial idea of there being a black Captain America, you know, but, you know, it's just woke nonsense, Lewin. It's just woke nonsense, you know, none of that in my fucking Marvel movies. But I like that, like that, you know, there is a serious, like, not like the serious topic of obviously, you know, racism and inequality when it comes to, you know, black people and that, but like just the idea of that hope that it brings to that community of seeing a black person be Captain America and represent what Captain America represents. And I love that little arc that Falcon goes on throughout the whole thing. Great show. Love it. 10 out of 10. My favorite Marvel show. My favorite one. And a lot of people complained about how it was slow and, you know, like, oh, it wasn't that interesting.
I was in it for the character development.
And I was like, it's literally a show about character development. Like, what do you mean? You don't like when your characters are developed? Okay, because, like, look, you have character development in Marvel movies, but that character development is usually stretched out over multiple movies.
Yeah, it takes years to get like, Iron Man from point A to
and that's
point
the problem.
B.
Yeah, like, that's the problem. Like, you can't, like, the Marvel movies, one thing they do character well, but one thing they don't do well is a character arc for a singular movie.
No.
And that's what this series does. This series is literally just a Marvel movie spread out over like 5-6 hours, and it gives them the time to really focus in on those character moments, and that's what I like. I don't want to see more of that. You know, they did the same with Loki as well. Like, Loki's a great show. Loki's a very different show to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I had a lot of fun with Loki, I will say. Well, what a great little fun time that show was. I do have beef with it. I will say my beef is that Loki goes on the exact same character arc that we've already seen, and it just makes it less interesting. And also Sylvie, great chemistry, great character, if you could call her a character. She's really just there to do the thing that she does at the end, and that's about it. I don't know what your thoughts are on Loki, but they're kind of like my general thoughts. Like, it's a fun time, but
my favorite of the free shows so far. I feel like could have done with maybe one more episode, but I just wanted like an episode to ease Loki into TVA with Owen Wilson before it went, because episode 2 is when everything goes to shit quickly. Granted, that happens like end of every episode. I would just liked one episode where it was just those two becoming friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, it's a good show. Like, when you're watching it, like, it's a really good ride. Like, I binge watched that. Like, I didn't watch it as it was airing. I waited until after the finale, and I just binge watched all 6 episodes. And I essentially watched it in a night. Like, I wasn't planning to. I started watching one episode just to fill in a bit of time at some point during the day, and then I ended up just watching the entire series in one night. And it is really a fucking journey you go on. And a lot of people were complaining about the finale and how, you know, disappointing it was. But, like, man, I fucking love that shit. I love that there was literally an entire episode where just people were sitting in a room talking, and that's literally all it was. That was good shit. I loved that. And obviously the ramifications on the larger MCU, with the multiverse and everything now, it's a good show to set up that.
It gave me Kang.
Okay.
I've never seen the actor who plays Kang. A version of Kang. I've never seen the actor who plays Kang before, but I really love him. I don't know why.
He was really good, and because he's going to be the villain of the next Ant-Man movie.
He's going to be like the main MCU villain for the next saga, and I'm all for that.
See, here's the thing. This is what I was saying before with the future of the MCU is I don't know if that's going to be the case. To be honest with you, I don't know if we're going to have a big villain now. I think it's going to be a case of, we're going to have these little separate storylines happening with their own villains and their own team-up movies rather than having a big bad that covers 10 years. Like, I'm sure they're going to build up to something, but I don't think it's going to be something... Like, I don't think Kang the Conqueror is going to be sticking around for the next 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they've got that storyline happening, and then you've got Captain America happening, the storyline with, like, what they're setting up with that, with Yelena and... US Agent and like the Dark Avengers. Like I feel like they're setting that up, and that's probably going to be a Captain America 4 thing, and then you've got the cosmic side of things with you've got Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. You've got the next Ant-Man movie, which I haven't watched the last one, but I'm definitely interested in the next Ant-Man movie. What else have you got? You've got I don't know if Eternals or Shang-Chi are going to deal with the multiverse. Like, I think they're probably going to be their own standalone things for now. Yeah. I don't feel like they're going to connect too much.
I think they're going to connect into, like, more the Doctor Strange side of things with the mystic arts. You got the mystics, the cosmics, and the Earth. And then... Yeah. It's going to be an interesting ride.
Oh, and then Spider-Man. We've got Doctor Strange popping up in Spider-Man. Which, again, like, the only reason I would ever... Like, I'm actually really... Here's the thing, like, they pulled me back in, Lewin. They pulled me back in, and I fucking hate it. I was, like, done with Marvel. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to watch whatever films and shit just specifically interest me. And then I watched Loki, and I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I watched WandaVision. I'm just like, you know what? They've reeled me back in with this. I'm really interested to see where the multiverse side of things goes, and I'm also really interested to see... I mean, mainly interested in Captain America 4 because, I just want to see my boys back at it.
Yes.
But, they've reeled me back in with this, I will say.
I'm definitely interested. They've at least laid out a good plan for their future. Like, it was uncertain when Endgame came out that people were like, oh yeah, it's, we can stop here. And like, yeah, you can, but it's still good.
That's still my... Like, I'm still going to take it on a project-by-project basis. Like, I'm definitely not going to watch Guardians 3. I know we were praising James Gunn earlier with Suicide Squad, but I just don't like those movies, and I don't really like those characters that much. So I'm just not going to watch it. I don't care. I'm not going to watch Guardians 3 when that eventually comes. Where, like, with the next Thor movie, and now the whole thing specifically dealing with the multiverse, I'm interested in watching that, and I'm interested in Captain America.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And Hawkeye's going to probably... I think that's what's going to happen, is Hawkeye's going to tie into the whole Earth stuff, and then, that's why I wouldn't be surprised if Hawkeye is in Captain America 4. Considering they have the theme with these Captain America movies where they're not really... they're a Captain America movie, but they're also an Avengers movie, essentially. So I just have a feeling that that's where it's going to go. And, of course, Thor.
Yeah.
Taika Waititi. Who we didn't even talk about in Suicide Squad, but he has his little scene. He has his little scene, and I love it. But yeah, so I'm interested in seeing where the future of the MCU goes.
Likewise.
But I just wanted to rapid fire through those because I really didn't have a lot to say about them. But yeah, is there anything else you've been doing? Anything else you want to add?
No.
Should we wrap it up?
I think we're good to wrap it on up. I think Suicide Squad was the thing I was mainly wanting to talk about today. So
Yeah,
we
I just thought, a lot of stuff has come out in the last couple of months that we haven't, or not even the last couple of months, but like we just haven't touched on. So I thought, let's just do a rapid fire MCU thing real quick. I will say I'm excited to see Captain America 4. I'm excited to see a season 2 of Loki, and I really hope season 2 of Loki, they really focus in on developing Sylvie as a character and actually doing something interesting there. I think that could be cool. So I'm definitely... It's a case of keep an eye on this space, I think it'd be interesting, and Hawkeye's later in the year, so plenty of MCU stuff to come, I think.
Yeah.
I've been playing some games and doing bits and bobs, but we'll talk about that next episode, whenever that is. We'll have to figure out what we're going to do for the next 2 months while we're waiting for something to come out, but we'll figure it out. But yeah, that brings us to the end of this episode, so... thank you guys so much for listening and watching, since this is really a YouTube episode for now. But the show is up on Spotify and other podcast services, except Google Play. I'm pretty sure Google Podcasts took our podcast down. So we're up on Apple and Spotify. So if you do want to listen to the podcast over there, you can head over there. This episode won't be on there yet, but we've got 21 previous episodes for you to go and check out. So go do that. Leave us a positive rating. And of course, there's a playlist here on YouTube for you to check out as well. Got a bunch of other content. I'm streaming a lot now, so definitely check out my channel. I'm doing a lot of streaming through Persona 5. What else am I doing? I plan on streaming Life is Strange 2 and the new Life is Strange games and stuff, and probably going to finish Hitman 2 and things. So I'm doing a lot of streaming at the moment because I'm in lockdown, so definitely follow me for that, and I've got new content and things coming as well. But yeah, other than that, the usual, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, Lewin, you can just take us out. I'm done. I'm done with
Thanks
that.
Thanks everybody for watching. Yeah, this was a fun episode, and we will see you next time we see you, which, given the hiatus, we don't know. Hopefully next month. We'll see you then. Goodbye, people.